practices in our Silvertree. I welcome you to the second rune reading, Silvertree Rune Reading. And this video, this message that I will be sharing with you dives into the shadow aspect of the fire element, the fire energy that we hold within ourselves, that we share amongst ourselves, that we experience, whether unconsciously or consciously. So here we go. I am very, very excited to share again. And before I get into the reading, I will be starting a second YouTube channel that primarily focuses on rune readings. This is my music channel, but I'll kick that off in beginning in January. All right, so let's get started. So the name of the message today is Shadows of the Flame. Now you're probably wondering, well, what do you mean shadows of the flame? Flame produces light, right? Flame attracts all that is dark. It warms up the room. It warms up the space. It gives us that feeling of comfort. When we think of fire, when we think of fireplace, when we think of staying warm, right? We're in the months of cool weather, blizzards in some places, several feet of snow, right? After a long, hard day outside, or out in work, and it takes you a half hour to get home after the rush hour, and you get home and the room is cool, the lights are down. So what do? You turn on the light. Those of you who are lucky to have a fireplace, you put some wood on the stove, turn on the boiler, turn on the heater. We turn on the gas, we sit around, we heat up some tea, and we warm ourselves, right? We rub our hands together, create that warmth. Well, I'm going to ask you some questions. And when I use the word you, I'm speaking to the human collective, the human consciousness, the oneness that connects all human women, human men, and children. What do you feel when you think of the word fire? What do you feel when you think of the word light? Where can you feel heat in your body? I know this may sound like a silly question, but really, locate that feeling inside your body. The warmest places. Now, I'd like you to reflect on the coldest parts of your form. The places that get cold the first, in the morning when you get out of bed and your feet touch the ground and the ground's cold, and you shrivel up and you hide back underneath your covers, right? Fire has been one of the oldest tools of survival for humankind. It has warmed us, it has fed us, it has guided us, it has helped us, it has aided us. It has destroyed us. It has rejuvenated us. There are many, 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 many lessons with the energy of fire. It shows up in many different ways in our emotions, in our thinking, in our body. Oh yes, in our body. Dis-ease begins with inflammation. Inflammation is the body speaking. It's the body saying, hey, something's not right. I have a lot of heat going on. It's a sign of infection, right? When you get a cut, that cut turns hot and pussy and red, right? It's the body trying to dispel whatever imbalance is taking place. It's trying to heal itself. But sometimes that inflammation is left and it just acclimates over time. Well, the same thing that happens within our body happens within our heart, and it happens within our mind when we allow very negative, dark feelings and emotions like irritability, anger, jealousy, rage. When we allow these emotions to sit and fester inside our being, it will manifest itself into dis-ease, into a physical ailment, if left ignored. So fire, heat, warmth, light is a great teacher of taking accountability, of finding the inner spark within yourself when there's nothing left, right? Having that little ember of hope deep within yourself when there is no one else to look up to, when you can't call a friend, when there is no lifeline. We all have this ember, this power within ourselves in our most darkest of moments. And so with humanity, as you know, everyone is aware of this. We're all going through it. We're all being tested to face this fire, right, within ourselves, these embers left behind, right? If you leave behind an ember, you don't feed the fire, it burns out. If you give way too much warmth, too much heat, it burns out. There must be balance in our emotional and mental and physical state. And to be in the constant space of equilibrium within our daily life is, I think, one of the most biggest challenges for a human. So I know that was kind of all over the place, but I just felt called to share that. Because when you're studying elemental magic, when you're studying the elements and you're connecting the dots on how it affects your inner world and external world, it is so deep. Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. So with this reading, I wanted to focus on the shadow aspects of the subconscious mind and how fire is connected to that. As you can see, you see a spiral here. This spiral is one of my symbols, and actually it's a universal symbol for the Kundalini, for the red serpent. The red serpent is one of my personal medicines. And so the spiral is, to me, is symbolic for the beginning and the end, and the end, or the beginning and end, and the end and the beginning. And we don't really know, what started, right? Where it ends, where it begins. We just know it's an ever-ending, ever, living cycle. It just keeps going and going and going. For someone who's descending, that could be their ascension. For someone's ascension, that could be their descension in a way. We're all going through our own personal cycles and spirals on our path. So I'm going to pull. I'm going to start. It's funny. I'm going to start here. And I ask Source at this moment, where are we as a human collective? Where are we as a human collective? The beginning is the end the beginning. Where are we with our cycle? Here we go. Oh, wow. So this rune is, I don't know if you can see that, it's a plant, okay, which is symbolic for growth. Very interesting, okay. And it makes sense. Wow, yeah, because everyone's going through a growth period. Okay. And as we continue on with this path, depending on our actions and our thoughts and our feelings, where is the end or where is the beginning? Let's see. Oh. Huh. Okay, so you can read this energy. It's an H, a capital H. It looks like a capital H. Now, you can read this, the energy of this sigil, in one or two ways. You can see two energies. I see two men holding hands, two people holding hands, forming a bridge, working together. On the other hand, you flip that over, and it looks like an eye. And I see a man standing there alone. And he has the ceiling. He's holding up the ceiling and he's standing on the ground. And I see two opposing forces, and he's having to use his own weight to keep the bottom and top from collapsing on him. So there's two ways of reading that, right? So I'm going to leave that there because there's a few different ways we can interpret that. But this is by far growth. There's no way around it. Doesn't matter where we are vibrating, or where you're vibrating, you're going to grow either way. Either way. You can make it, very difficult for yourself, going against what comes natural to you, ignoring the embers that need tending to, or you can feed that flame, feed that fire, allow it to grow, allow it to show you, allow that light, your inner fire, to show you, to reveal something new. This is also something new. Or the sigil represents newness. It represents growth. It represents the growth of a seed planted long ago. If anything, this is the season to plant your seeds. Oh my goodness. Yes. So those are the only two runes I'm going to pull. I like to keep the readings simple and to the point, because there's so much that can go into one thing, and it can be overwhelming if there's too many things going on. So again, depends. There's some people, there will be some people who start off in a partnership. I don't know, this is coming through. Someone who's starting off in a partnership, they're holding hands. This is a marriage. This is a contract. This is a, some kind of partnership, a community contracts, soul contracts, business contracts, right? And the new energy that we're entering into is calling a few of us to break from that old cycle, to let go of that hand and become independent. To know that you are strong enough to stand on your own, and you're strong enough to break that glass ceiling, right? So you can look at it in an uplifting way. I know this is labeled as shadow of the flames, but I don't know. I feel called to share that. All right. And maybe to make it a little bit easier, this could be an ending, and the spiraling outward could be a beginning. So those of you who are entering into a new contract, or those of you who are in an old contract, you're being called to break the cycle and to ascend into something different. Now, what's going to go on here, that's up to you. That's up to us as a collective, and that's up to us as individuals, as sovereign beings. And remember, all that we do on an individualistic level affects all of us on a conscious level. There are people who will be descending during this time into the unknown, or going backwards. This could also be an arrow pointing in one specific direction. I think some people need to, I feel that some people need to revisit possibly an older cycle before they move on. You know? I think during 2020, all of us were called, as a collective, all of us were called to sit and revisit and reassess, to go take some steps backwards, to look and study the map of our life, meaning what took place in your last season, meaning your summer, your spring, your fall, your winter, the year before, 2 years before. Studying what takes place each year of your life during the seasons, I think, is probably one of the most important things any individual could do. We focus very much on predictions of the future. What, right? Like what could possibly take place? My potential twin flame, my job, the money, all this, but we run away from having to study what took place before. And I'm not talking about reliving it. I'm talking about looking and studying the cycles, the patterns. I'll say this. Habits, your daily habits dictate the results of your goals. We can sit and make lists. We can rewrite our whole life if we wanted to, right? But if you don't focus on the habits that dictate the results of your goals, you'll end up anywhere. When you study the habits, it brings you into the present moment. It puts you in alignment of your fire, of your creative life force energy. I also see here and feel called to share that the snake, the red serpent, it represents the priestess, the goddess energy, the manifestation. You know, this came to mind when serpents have or give birth. Snakes will literally, they'll give birth to their eggs, right? And they will bury their eggs in the sand and then leave it alone, right? They'll leave it there. And then the snakes, then when they're ready to to hatch, they'll come out, and then they all go their separate ways, living their own individual lives. But the thing is about laying of the eggs is very important, right? You have your idea, you use your creative life force, fire energy to put your ideas, through the pen to the paper, then through your actions, then speaking it into existence, the whole manifestation exercise, and law of attraction and all that stuff. That's very popular now. And, and then you have to trust that your eggs will hatch when they're supposed to. So that's what I felt to share. I felt, called to share. I just, this is something that's new for me. I'm usually very private with with this sort of thing. And so organizing it in a way for people to understand. I don't want to obsess about that too much. I think if you're called to this message and you find things that help you, or that's, it resonates with you, then that's all that really matters. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't meant for you. That's kind of how I look at it. But one thing I will say, going into the new Gregorian year of 2021, is the shedding of the skin. Releasing, shedding of the skin. So the struggles, the potential struggles for our human collective, they're real. I see loneliness here for some. Like going against the grain, like it's almost like, imagine yourself sitting in a room and slowly, very slowly, you notice the ceiling is moving towards you, and you notice the floor is moving towards you, and you're having to use your weight to not get smushed into oblivion. And I feel that pressure is being felt all across, the globe, in many different ways, and affecting many people. So I find that if it's possible, if you can reach out to someone and be the bridge for them, be the bridge for yourself. Connect. Change your vibe to find your tribe. I see like two chiefs here making an agreement to show up for one another. And then with the 3 energy, because there's 1, 2, and 3 lines here, so it's like one can't do without the other. But here, if you try to do it by yourself, you'll be crushed. And then for those that need to learn how to be independent, how to be self-sufficient, you have to break that contract and carve out your own path and release that skin. Bury your eggs, release the skin, and move forward and ascend into growth. Here, trust that the eggs that you plant will manifest into something new and beautiful that will create and expand your community, your purpose in society, your being around people who truly support what you're doing. I think that is all that I feel called to share in this reading. It takes a lot of practice. A lot of practice doing this, and a lot of trust and faith in Source to guide me, and but I'm up for it. It's time. I feel excited to do this and to share this. So let me know in the comments below if this is resonating for you, what your experience is with working with fire element, working with your own internal medicines, and your journey of self-mastery, and what practices do you use to improve your relationship with the self and the soul and Source. So with that, with all humbleness, I am very grateful and thankful if you sat here through this reading with me, and if it resonates, please like and subscribe, and I would love to connect with you all. So thank you so much. Again, my name is NR Silvertree, and I'll see you in my next reading. Goodbye.